Okay, we are running our studio. We'll call this video number 2. This probably should have come first, but you know, it's the first time coming to record our studio videos. So we're gonna go ahead and do our Unit 0, our homework. I also have music playing, and it's kind of distracting, but we'll see how that goes. You guys can't hear it because I have headphones on, but whatever. Anyway, we're gonna go here to our canvas. We're in Unit 0. We're gonna go down to the our homework 0. We're gonna click on it. Yours will look a little bit different than mine because I am the instructor and you are, haha, fortunately not. So you're just the students. Go ahead to preview. For me, you guys go ahead and hit begin quiz or whatever it might say. And so here is the thing about your videos compared to my, or your situation versus mine. I just turned the volume down. Okay. Yours says to use Karloff dataset and the Karloff University dataset. If this is your first time loading into our studio, you will not have the university dataset. If we've already loaded it in class, go ahead and continue. If not, I will show you that in class. It takes a couple more different steps. And so I'm going to open up my RStudio. And so you should know that the Karloff dataset is part of your datasets that are loaded. So we're going to go here to where it says environment window, top right, import dataset from local file. Normally yours are loaded in the OnRAMS data folder. Mine is loaded right here. So double check it. Go to your OnRAMS data folder. If it's here, go ahead and use it. If it's not, if you're like me, mine is stored under the regular home menu. I'm going to click on it, hit open. And so as we're working through our Karloff dataset, let's go click back to our quiz real quick and see what it is they want me to do. This instructions right here, all of these are about how to import the dataset into your RStudio. If you already have it loaded, you can go ahead and skip this part and you go on to question 1. Whoops, where are we at? Question 1. So let's go ahead in RStudio. We're going to import it, and we're going to leave the name as is because we're going to talk about how to change that in the script window. So we go here and we hit import. There is our entire Karloff dataset. There are 100 kids, 100 observations of 16 variables. We go over to Unit 0 quiz and we say import the dataset. How many records are there? And so they use the word records, but in ours it's called observations. And so there are exactly 100 records in there. How many variables are there? We go over here to the right hand corner. It tells us how many variables. That means basically how many different things they were asked. All these people up and down, all the rows represent different people. They were each asked roughly 16 questions. If you consider student ID a question, I really don't, but yes, they were basically asked 16 questions. So 16 questions. How many of the records, get used to this Apple mouse. How many records of female students are there in the data set? And so we can't tell. All we know is that there are 100 people in here. Yes, you could go here and you could count them one by one. Male, male, female, that'd be 1. Male, 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 female, that'd be 2. So yes, you could go ahead and do that. So think about what you would normally do if you didn't have RStudio. If you did not have RStudio, and this was a regular piece of paper in front of you, or even just another computer program, let's see if this works. You would go to this column and you would say, okay, let's see. Boom, boom. There's males. There are females. Let's see. I have 1, 2. 1, 2. I have, here's a female. You'd say 1 female. There's another male. Add another one. There's another male. You'd add 4. You do basically a tally. Here's your 2 females, and then 3 females. You do a little tally. You do 5, and then you do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you were doing it by hand, the good thing about RStudio is that it will do it for you. And so if you've read your chapter, this right here, let's say you did all this over and over again and you did it by hand, and you'd have a male, you'd have a female. If you counted them all, you might come up with like 40 females or males and maybe 60 females. I don't know, we haven't done it. But if you counted it by hand, this is what you would get. You'd get a tally and this become a frequency table. I'm not spelling that out. So it'd be a frequency table. Our studio will do it for us. And so we go over here to our code. Clear my ink out of the way. We're going to go over here to our table. First of all, I don't want this full crazy name of carl.u.video. all blah blah blah. So we're going to do hashtag. Hashtags are used for leaving notes about what we're doing. We're going to change the name. Change the name to lowercase Carl. So I want to be called Carl. If you watch video 1, you should know how to change a name already. And then the good thing about RStudio is as I'm typing it in, it shows up. I can just click on it. Then I can highlight both codes, get in the habit of doing this, and running. Second data set over here called Carl. Okay, I don't need the one called carl.view.video, so I'm going to close that tab. I'm going to click on the one that's just called Carl. There it is. So now the code that I want that frequency table. So we're going to generate a frequency. Why can't I do Q? There it is. Q, frequency table. In RStudio, the code for that is table. So the question is, what do we want a table of? And so we go over here, we look at our Carl data, and if you've watched video 1, I've already talked about how these columns, and this one specifically, how they have entire full names. And so what is the name of my data set? The entire name of my data set is called Carl. Okay, so this is called Carl. This specific row is called Carl because it comes from Carl, $, capital SEX. That is the name of this column. And so that is what you're telling RStudio is please look at this column and give me a table on this specific column. And so that's what we're going to tell RStudio to do. Okay. So we go over here to our code. And we want the Carl $SEX. Okay. And we run those 2 lines, highlighting them. And there we go. Bottom left-hand corner, if you can see it, it gives me my table, just like I drew it by hand. It is right there. It's telling me that there are 33 females and 67 males. That is the code that I can put in my quiz. How many female students are there? What was it? It was 33. Okay, go to the next one. Use the variable full-time to determine how many students in the dataset are full-time. So we're going to do the same thing. Let me clear this code, or this ink, I mean. And so we go over here. Where do I see the variable full-time? That is right, let's see. We don't see it. There it is. It says full-time. So the entire name of this column is not full-time. It has a much longer name. It is called Carl $, full.time. I misspelled it, but you know what it says. Let's clear that ink out. Let's clear all the ink out. There you go. And so we go over here, and we're going to use the variable full-time to get another table. So you want to generate a second table. New line, hashtag, generate table for full time. So that would be table, parentheses, because we're running a function, Carl, $, and if you don't remember, let's see, it looks like it's supposed to be, where's it at? Full.time. There it is. Hit enter. Go to the outside of your parentheses, and then we hit Control Enter, and it ran another table for us. And there it is. There, according to this, there are 62 people that are yes full time. We'll go ahead and type that in there. It now wants to know how many credit hours is the 67th student in the data set taking. And so here's the thing that we could do. We could count. We could cheat. We could go to our data set and just count 67 people down. So here would be 1, here would be 2. We could do that. We could scroll down and look at it. And so here is our person. They want to know how many hours is he taking. And so let's see, what column would that be? See how you'd have to highlight and then like scroll and make sure you don't lose your place. You could do it this way. It would be highly annoying. See, let's see. Follow-up temperature. I'm still haven't gotten to them. What were they looking for? See, I don't even remember what they were looking for. Oh, credit hours. It looks like it's either 16 or 14 or 15. I already lost my place, is my point. And so you could do that. That is called not cheating, but doing it the long, tedious way. RStudio is meant to take that task and do it in a much faster notion. So we want to know the 67th student. So I go here to my code. I'm going to index, $, index my 67th student. If you watch the R tutorials in your Unit 0, you should know what indexing means. And so this data set is called Carl, bracket. I want to know who the 67th person is, comma. If I leave it blank, it will tell me everything about the 67th person. I'm going to run this 2 lines of code. Oops, I forgot to. That's my bad. I did not highlight the other escape. I did not highlight the entire bracket, so it caused me a problem. So make sure you always highlight the entire bracket or parentheses. Enter. And so a lot of information here at the bottom. Bottom left here. This tells me everything about the 67th person. His ID, his month, his sex, his class, his credit hours. There it is. 16. In a simple little typing, I can go ahead and find the answer without having to scroll down. And so we go here and we type in 16. Oops, scroll down, wrong direction. Okay, we now need to find Wendoscopy. That is a condition, is for Wendigos. Wendigos are basically like Canadian werewolves, sort of, not really. Anyway, so condition is turn students into a Wendigo. A Wendigo is a mythical creature in the legend of native people in the Atlantic coast and the Great Lakes region. Great Lakes region is basically Canada. So they use a table to determine how many students were diagnosed with Wendoscopy. So they want us to do another table. We should be getting experts at table. Next line of code. Generate Wendigo table. So table, parentheses. The question is, where the heck do I get that information from? I go over here to Carl and I find where it says Wendigo. And there it is, Wendoscopy. It's called diagnosis. So that entire name of this column should be Carl is the name of the data set. $, diagnosis. Pay attention to when I'm adding the parentheses, when I'm adding the brackets, when I do equal equals, when I do commas. I'm only talking about an individual column, so I don't need a comma on here. Commas are only for when I'm using brackets, more or less. There's other times when we use commas, but that we'll talk about that in the advanced videos. So I'm going to go ahead and run this code. This table tells me exactly how many Wendoscopies are there, which means if you have a Wendoscopy, you are a Wendigo. According to this, there are 41 of them. Create a data frame only containing students with Wendoscopy. Okay, let's go see. So we're going to generate a new one. We're going to call it Wendy with an I. Wendy with an I. Sounds like a girl's name. Wendy with an I. All right, give me a second while I check my Snapchat. Oh, look at that. I got some snaps. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and move forward. Yes, I'm a human being. I have Snapchat. Anyway, moving forward. We want only Wendigos. Wendigos come from the data frame Carl and then the column diagnosis. So they come from the data frame Carl. Data frames need, or data sets need, brackets. Then, back to video 1. What are we checking for? We want the computer to go over here to this column. And what we're checking for, let me get my tablet out here. We want the computer to look at this column and go line by line by line and say, are you a Wendigo? If you're a Wendigo, check, I want you. Yes. Yes. Oops, wrong one. You get the idea. It's going through here. If you are a Wendigo, it says, yes, I'm going to use you. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use that one. I'm going to skip all the other ones if it doesn't say Wendoscopy. So we are going row by row, up and down. And so we are using this column to tell us which rows we want. And so it's a combination of telling the computer to look for a specific column, and in that column, go row by row by row. So the question is, what should be the name of this row? Or sorry, this column. This is called Carl, $, the name of the actual column, which is diagnosis. That's the column. I'm not spelling that out. You guys can spell. You're seniors in high school. Clear ink. Okay, so we're going to go over here, and we're going to go ahead and type in our code. Oops, wrong one. This is Carl, $. That is the name of the column. What was it? Diagnosis. So that's what it's looking for. That's what it's looking in. I'm sorry. What do we need to look for? We need to look for equal quotation marks Wengoscopy. Rather than try to spell it myself, I'm just going to highlight it and Control C, copy, and then Control V, paste, even though I have a Mac. And so here's the thing. This time I will use a comma because it's going row by row, but there are other columns that I would like to use. So I'm telling the computer to go row by row, but comma, use all of the other columns. And so we're going to go ahead and run this code on here. So highlight. I forgot to give a hashtag. Oops. Okay. And so over here on the right hand side, we see the word Wendy. Wendy now has 41 observations, which means we have 41 Wengoscopies, which should match the code that we had up here. It makes only sense that there should be 41 people there. Those should match. Oh, so they want us to use only the Wendy data here. I think this video is getting a little long, but we'll try to finish this up here in a few steps here. How many more questions do I have? I have 3 more questions. We can do this. They want to see which is the most common moon phase. And so using the Wendy data frame, we're going to run one more table. So table for moon phases. Okay, but this time we're going to use table parentheses because it's a function. This time we're looking specifically at the Wendy data frame. And so we're going to click on Wendy over here in the right hand corner, Wendy. And we see, where does it talk about moon phase? There it is, moon phase. And so this is where it becomes important to remember that these columns have full names. The name of this column should be what? We know that it has the word moon phase in it, so it's definitely capital M-O-O-N dot capital P-A-S-E. I forgot a letter there, whatever. Moon phase, moon dot phase. The full name of this column, though, because we were looking at the Wendy data frame, it's no longer Carl. It is now Wendy with an I, $. That is the entire name of this column. That is the code that needs to go here. Wendy, $, moon phase. Outside of the parentheses, highlight, run. There it is. It tells me all 3 of the options that are available to me under the diagnosis. Let me clear this ink out. Oop, clear ink. We have 19 news, 12 partials, 10 full. Which one shows up the most often is what the quiz is asking for. What's the most common? Looks like the most common one is the new. We're going to type it in exactly as they give it to us. Capital N, EW. Specifics are important. Okay, now they want us to do a data frame containing only lycanthropy and what was their average temperature. So we're going to copy this word lycanthropy. Copy. And we're going to use this code that we just finished using. So hashtag only a lycanthropy, if you don't know, is actually a werewolf. Werewolf. Wolf. Is that spelled right? Or wolf? I don't remember. So to help us, we'll say werewolves, plural. Okay, so the code is, we're going to call it Wolvie with an IE. Again, you can call it whatever you like. That's the new name. It comes from the original data set, which is called Carl. We're basically going to copy the code that was right here. So I'm actually going to go and do that. I'm going to copy. Copy. paste. Before I run it, hopefully you're telling me, no, no, Mr. Barajas, don't run that code, because this one says equal equal Wingoscopy. This time we need, oops, Mr. Barajas, you didn't think. So we go to Carl. We're going to highlight this guy again. Copy. Copy. There you go. Delete and paste. Lycanthropy. We run this code for Wolvie. Top right hand corner. There he is, Wolvie. He has 59 people. And so we should already know that, because in the table you ran a little while ago, it said you had 59 lycanthropies, which means you have 59 wolves. That should be pretty straightforward. Now that we've created it, go back to our quiz. They want to know the average temperature. No big deal. The statistical term for average temperature, or average in this case, find average temp of Wolvie. So the code we need is mean. Parentheses, because it's a function. The question is, where do we find it? So we click on Wolvie. Which temperature are they talking about? They're talking about this temperature right here. And again, this column, I'm not going to do it this time. This column has a name. It is Wolvie $temp with the capital T. That is what I want. So Wolvie, oops, I totally misspelled that. Wolvie $, and look, it shows up for me right there, temp. No comma this time. I want only that specific column. So I don't need a comma this time. Okay. I go ahead and select or highlight and run this code. And I get the average temperature, 101.3614. I take this answer and I input it the way they want, 3 decimal places. I know for a fact that it was 101 point something. I don't remember what it was. It was 101.361. And so put some zeros in there. So 361. Okay, and so I'm going to end it here. The video is getting a little bit longer. You guys should be able to answer question 9 and 10 on your own. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in class. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this quicker. There we go.